I love to call them housekeeping rules. You know, in every home, there's some rules guiding activities and stuff like that. So there's some rules that will be guiding us during the training session today. So first off is, so while you're on the call right now, kindly mute your mic, you know, to avoid distracting others. So we are on the call to learn. So in order to not distract other people, kindly mute your mics. Secondly, if you have any questions, you're free to ask during the Q&A session. So after every class, there is a question and answer session. So if you have a question and you feel like you might forget, you can just note it down. Because asking questions during the class might, you know, interrupt the delivering process of the trainer. So to avoid that, after the class, note down your questions and then you can ask. And thirdly, please avoid distractions. And I really look forward to us having a great and amazing session. Thank you. So on another note, let's meet our trainer for today, Mr. Rashid Oguniro, Microsoft Certified Trainer and Microsoft Certified Data Analyst Associate. So he's an experienced logistics professional with expertise on warehousing, logistics, and distribution, who has now deviated in data analytics with excellent analytical, numeracy, organizational, and problem-solving skills. He's highly process-oriented with in-depth knowledge of database types, research methodologies, big data capture, manipulation, visualization, and presentation. He's a Microsoft Certified Trainer, Microsoft Certified Data Analyst Associate. He's currently exploring data engineering and Office 365. He's very big with Microsoft communities like Niger Data Platform, Azure Nigeria, and Dynamics 365 in the past. He has served as volunteer to several Microsoft communities and currently the lead for Microsoft Certified Trainers, Nigeria and West Africa. He's a member of Power BI User Group, where he gives free training to newbies, and is also the founder of Nemoram Ventures. So on that note, I would like to say a big welcome to our trainer for today, Mr. Rashid Oguniro. Thank you so much for doing this with us. We're really excited. We're really happy to have you here. All right, so before we go into the class, let's also meet our amazing host. This is Mercy George Igbafe. Mercy George Igbafe is a tech luminary and agile maestro, also known as tech. She's celebrated for her profound expertise in data analytics, agile, Scrum, and digital marketing. As a visionary founder of LEARNTOR, she's on a mission to develop 10,000 tech talent by 2025, already having transformed the lives of 2,395 plus Nigerians, with a significant 75% being women and youth. Our partnership with global organizations like Scrum USA and Taskfield amplify our impact. She's a beneficiary of the Tony Elumelu Foundation and the European Union Seed Star. She also earned a coveted nomination to represent the African Development Bank in an elite Japanese entrepreneurship discussion, and a member of the board of directors, Women in Agile USA. Beyond her professional accolades, Mercy is a devoted child of Almighty God, mother, grandmother, and wife, anchored by the belief true greatness is not in being great, but in the ability to make others great. Pastor Chris Oketie. So on that note, welcome everyone to today's session. Thank you for joining in, and I'll be bringing our trainer on board to take us through the class for today. So Mr. Rashid, please, the room is yours.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes. So, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. My name is Rashid Oguniro, and I'll be taking us through this session. Before I move on, I want to appreciate everybody that is on the call. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, regardless of where you are joining from. My name is Rashid Oguniro. I'm a data analyst and a logistics professional. So we are looking at that today, and I've decided to simplify it and assume that we are all new. And so I've tagged my topic, understanding ducks, because the only way you can fly in any field is when you have the basic knowledge. So before I move on, I want to appreciate LEARNTOR for this great privilege. I do not take it for granted at all. And so I want to say thank you once more. So we'll be looking at understanding DAX in Power BI. And these are the basic I've put together because DAX is a very wide field. And I can call it the life wire of Power BI. If you don't know that, so we look at that. What is this DAX that we're talking about? And DAX are governed by certain functions, syntax. You know, if you understand the usage of this function and syntax, then you are home and dry in using that, in applying DAX in Power BI. Then again, when you understand function and syntax in DAX, you still need to understand the difference between calculated column and measure. Why is one preferred than the other? And what is best for you as a Power BI analyst? Then again, we need that function is a whole lot. And so we'll just try the little that we can achieve today, because the truth is that we cannot know that today. I have to be sincere with us. Because today we are laying a foundation, we have to take it as if everybody here we've not even had it before. Because if you say, okay, we want to move from a more complex DAX formulas, then we'll be leaving some people behind, which is not proper. So let us assume that we are all new students. And so we look at content of types of DAX function, then we'll do some little exercises in the demo section before we call it a day. So this is me. I've been introduced. My name is Rashid. I'm a socialized professional and data analyst, very big on community, Microsoft community to be precise. Currently, I'm the lead for Microsoft Certified Trainer for Nigeria and West Africa. So if you are hoping to become an MCT, you are already training, but you are not yet an MCT, you can private chat me after this class. We'll soon be having a conference in Abuja where we'll be taking new MCT. If you become an MCT, what that does for you is that you will have access to a Microsoft platform where you can benefit materials that is valued at over 10,000 US dollars. You know, as a trainer, if you are a Microsoft certified trainer, you can train anywhere in the world, provided they are speaking English. Even if you can speak language different from English, you still have materials for other languages there. But basically, I'm promoting English-speaking countries. So the conference will be in November. Plan for it. It's going to be a 1-week rigorous exercise, but I tell you, it is worth it. If you are a trainer, you don't even need to look for a job, because I'm good at what you do. I can tell you from comfort of your room, you can train people all over the world, and you are reaping your money, legit money in US dollars. Thank you. I move straight to the topic of today. What is DAX? So DAX means data analysis expression. And it is a collection of operators, constants, can be used in formula or expression to calculate and return one or more value. And so I can simply put it that it helps you to create new information already in your model. So obviously, when you have data in your model, what that does for you is that it helps you to create new information. Take, for instance, you have a transaction for a whole month. Let's say for 5 years, and you want to know what you made in 2018 alone. Then what do we really use DAX for? We use DAX for measures. We use DAX to calculate columns in our Power BI desktop. Then we use DAX measure to calculate tables. We also use DAX measures. We also use DAX to create what we call row level security. And I try to just put some things beside it. You can see is now, let's say you are looking for total sales. So total sales, the command you use is sum. Just click on sales for the month. Depending on the kind of data that you are using, that is what it will show you. You also use it to create calendar. You can use it to create dates, because sometimes your data might not come with a day. It might have a day, but the date might not be holistic. And the best thing for you to do to have a seamless visualization analysis is for you to have a date that can give you control over everything that you're doing. So let's quickly look at that syntax. What are that syntax? I try to put a diagram beside it. You know, A means total sales. What is the measure name? The name for that measure is total sales that we are looking for now. And so B tells you equals to, which indicates the beginning of the formula when it will return a result. Now, the C aspects is the command under DAX, under Power BI. We will see all this that I'm saying. And the E is what we call the reference table. So best practice in Power BI is that when you're computing a DAX information, you need to be able to refer to the table that you are making the calculation on. And so D is a parenthesis. Normally, all of your computation must be in a parenthesis. And the F is the reference column. So when you are making, you are making a computation, a calculation in a table now, you need to refer to a particular column. So now, part of what we need to look at today is calculated column and new measures. What are the differences? Number one, calculated column stores in the memory. That's one of the differences. If you use measure to compute your DAX, it won't be stored in your memory. It will take little or no space at all. But for calculated column, it takes space. And imagine you have data that are running into millions. So what that means is that your system will be considerably slow, because the more you use calculated column to create more spaces, the more the data becomes bigger, and it slows the pace of your work. That's number one. Number two, then it calculates at each time you refresh reports. Now, if you use calculated column to calculate a particular report or information, except you refresh it, it will not show. But it's not like that with new measure. It's calculated on a fly. That's another difference. Then another one like it consumes memory. The only thing that it consumes other measures is just consume CPU. It doesn't consume any memory. So this does it by row calculation usually, but it does it under measures with a calculation, and more like that. Now, value can be seen in the column in a data lab, but value can be seen when you are adding it to the report. In other words, I will show all these things I'm saying, I will make it for us to see. We'll see it clearly. Now, in the majority of the cases, calculation can be done in Power Query under calculated column, but that usually is the best place for this calculation. Then look at profit as an example, or let's say sales year to date. Now, if you want to use calculated column, if you want to calculate profit, for instance, you have to click on sales minus costs. But you don't need that if it is under new measures. You just calculate. Now, all calculated column are what we call implicit function, while under measure is called explicit function. Now, these are types of DAX function. You have aggregation, data and time intelligence function, filter function, financial, and the rest. Now, all these types you are looking at, they can still be broken down, and this is it. These are the content in those types of function. This function that we are looking at, this 40 function that I listed. Now, we now break it down into pieces. No, when you talk about aggregate function, that's where you look at sum X, average X, and the rest. Now, under filter, you see calculate, filter, all except. You know, under text function, you see concatenate, left, lower, right, and the rest. Relationship, you see cross filter, related table, user relationship, date and time function, calendar. So those are how it's been breaking down. Now, we can always look at this later. So we'll look at these few. I know that we cannot finish this exercise, that's the truth, but I will just try the little I can do because of time. So how many minutes do I have?
Okay, you still have about 50 minutes to go, actually.
I didn't hear you clearly.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go on.
I said you still have about 50 minutes.
One, right?
50, yes, 1 hour, approximately 1 hour.
Yes. Thank you. So now, can I see my screen? What can I see?
Yes, we can.
What can you see?
Demo.
Oh, sorry. I need to unshare, reshare. I'm already on my Power BI desktop. Can we see my screen now? What can we see?
Power BI desktop.
Thank you. So if you check your chat room, I sent 2 particular files there for the purpose of people that might be willing to practicalize what we'll be demonstrating, because the way to know more, the way to scale up your learning is when you practice. When you practice, it's not enough for you to come to class and listen. You can equally be replicating it and see how the facilitator is doing it. So I've dropped the file that we're going to use for this class. The 2 files are what we're going to use. And so this is Power BI desktop. And so I want to bring in our data. We all know majority of us are not new about this. So just click on get your data. And we're using an Excel file. So click on Excel. And so I navigate to the file I want to use. This is the file. I've dropped it in the chat room, so you can pick it and replicate it if you are with your laptop. But if you are not with your laptop, so you can just follow us on how we're doing it. So it will take some seconds. So the data now is loading. It will take some seconds. So this is what you will see on your if you load your data, this is what you will see. And so we need to load our data. So I want as a rule, always select those data that has blue tip at the top. So this is sales. Okay. So this is sales and this is sales people. So you only need this 5. No, then as a rule, please don't click on load directly. Always click on your transform. What that does for you is that it will take you to where we call Power Query Editor. Power Query Editor is a kitchen of Power BI. We all know that nobody cooks food in the toilet or in the parlor. You go to the kitchen. So Power BI has a platform called Power Query Editor. It's like an overlay on top of your Power BI desktop where you can do your cleaning, any modification you want to do. That is where you get it done. So now we are now on our Power Query Editor. So now we have our data on Power Query Editor. So we have our customer data, we have our location, we have our products, we have our sales data, we have our salespeople data. But for me, I don't like the way these data are. So it depends on you. For me, I want to try and clean this data as much as I can. So all you need to double click, then cancel it here, hit your enter button. And so it's instead of having sales data underscore, so you just have salespeople. You can double click on sales again to the same thing. Just cancel out the data at the front and the underscore and hit enter. You can equally click on the product table. So you can come to your right-hand side where you have properties. You know, you can still do your cleaning there. Let me call it products. Let me call my location. Let me call it locations because it's not only one location we are talking about here. And I go to my customers. So, customers. So at least is a bit clean enough than what we have before. Now, what's next? If you look at these tables very well, yeah, you can check, you can look at it. These are customers. This customer that purchased the transaction, this location where those transactions are sold to. This is the products, and this is the sales, which is the dimension table, and this is the sales people. But we need one more table here to help our work, and that will be our date table. There is a code. I send it to the chat room, so you can just follow how we use that to create this date. So what do you do now? Go back to you are still on your Power Query Editor. So go to your new source. But before I go to that new source, I need to go and get my code. I send it to the chat room. Okay. Hold on. It's not here. I send it to the chat room, but let me quickly go and get it where it is. Okay, so this is my date code. So all I need to do is Control A and Control C. Are we following? Can we see my screen? What can we see? I want to be sure that we are not lost. What can we see now?
Now we can see the table salesperson ID and salesperson name.
Thank you very much. So I've already copied the code I want you to use to create my dates. So all I need to do is come to new source. There is an arrow beside, just click on it, look query, blank query down. So when you click on the blank query, what that does for you is that it will open up an interface for you, which shows query 1. What do you do now? You look for under properties, advanced editor. Click on the advanced editor. It will bring this interface. Now, all you need to do is make sure you highlight these items on this interface. When you highlight it, now I've already copied my dates code. Then I will now drop it, Control V. This is my date code. What do I do now? All I need to come down to the right-hand corner and click on Done. Now, When I click on done, this is what I will see. Now, if you look at that, your data very well, it starts from 2018 to 2021. And so the first day in 2018 will be 1/1/2018. And so the end date will be 31st 12/2021. And don't forget, we have 7 days in a week, so you put 7 here. When you do that, when you do this that I've done, then you now click on invoke. When you click on invoke, it will automatically create your complete date table for you. It has everything you need. It has day of days of the month. It has months. It has years, quarter, even days. Anything you need is here. That is what date table can do for you. So for me, this evoke function, I'll have to rename it. Rename. And I will name it dates. Hit your enter. It automatically save as date. So I will just try and push it up a little on top of that query. When I push it up a little, now, this is 6 files, but I need to group them. How do I achieve this? Click on your customer dates, hit your shift function, and click on your dates. What it does is that it will select all the 6 files together. You now right click and say, move to new group. Can call it, based on what suits you, I'll call it sales. Sales data. Okay. I've named that. You can equally put the query in your own function too. You can put that one too in a group. So what will I call this? I can call this one the parameter, because that is that parameter we use to create our dates. And you click on OK. So you have grouped the two. What's next now? You now move to your Power BI desktop. So come to your right-hand corner under file, click on this arrow. There is an arrow here. Now, watch what you do here. We have been working since. We've done some modification. And so you need to be very careful here. If you click on close, it will close your job and it will not save all that you have done. It's as good as all that we have been doing, all those creating of data, bringing in codes, none of them will show. But if you click on apply, it will apply all that you've done, but it will not close. So the best option for you is the first, which is close and apply. You hit that close and apply. And what that does for you is that it will close that table and move you straight directly on into your Power BI desktop. To take some seconds, get there, it's loading, still loading, still loading. If you know you are enjoying this class, I want to see a thumbs up in the chat room. And if you also would love to have the recording after the class. Okay. Please resend. Okay, I will quickly resend the documents now for purpose of people that did not start with us. Okay, so before this thing will load, okay, it's still loading. So let me see this opportunity to quickly look for a way to send the data that we are using. Hello, Ife, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you please assist me in reposting the 2 files that I dropped in the chat room for the purpose of people that joined us late? Okay, so that will not take my time. Thank you. So here we are on Power BI desktop. What's next? Now, for people that joined us last month, we treated modeling. Modeling in Power BI. Modeling is very, very critical in Power BI. If you don't get your models right, all you are doing, you are just passing away time. You can never get the right result. And so we need to go and check our models if they are right. Though today we are not doing modeling, but there is no way we will not still touch our model if it works for us, as in if it's what we are expecting. So I'm going to close all this thing here and try to reduce this so that we can see clearly. So for me, my way of working, I like to move my lookup table up. This is our dates that we just created. Come to this site. I like to move my table up. Then we still have the table down. Okay, so this is the last one. So these are I like to work. So all these tables you are looking at the top, they are what we call lookup tables. And they are also the dimension, that's what we call dimension table. And the down one is the fact table where you carry out the real transaction. So now the modeling is good, but one thing is missing. Now, if you look at it very well, you see that the date table is standing alone, which is not supposed to be. So how do we fix this? Now, we will need to link into the transaction table. And so when we look at transaction table very well, you see that we don't have dates standing, but we have a purchase date. So you go to your date table, click on the date table, then drag it to purchase dates to establish a connectivity, or may I call it a connection. And so you see, it's 2 to 1. There is star here, and this is 1. So we are home and dry, and we are good to go. Obviously, our calculation and whatever we do now will not have any issue. So we can now move straight to our Power BI deck. So now we have established a relationship. So what's next now here? We need to, now, it's always good for us as data analysts to look at our table very well and understand it. Look at your table very well. When you do look at your table and understand your table, so you will not know what to do. So now, I'm going to call our attention to 2 tables. This is products table, and this is sales table. Now, it is inside sales table that the real action normally happens. But if you look at sales table very well, you'll see that we have a purchase date. Now, the purchase date is written in form of number. I don't think we need it to be like this. So all you need to do is that, what can I do here? I'm supposed to change it. Okay, that can be done later. So when you look at this environment very well, you realize that.
Sorry, sir.
Hello?
Sorry, please. I don't know if it's only me. We are still seeing the loaded data. We're not seeing the table yet, the table you're talking about. I don't know if it's only my own network, please.
Okay, so what can you see? Tell us.
I'm seeing load, that loading.
I think it's your okay. Does anyone have the same challenge?
Yes, the same challenge.
Okay.
I think I can also. Okay, thank you. I think I can also see the relationship page also.
Okay, maybe there is a lag. I will unshare and share again. Thank you for that observation. I think I don't have. Ife, can you help me check my rights? Because when I try to share, it's telling me that host only. So it's not allowing me to share. I don't know what is wrong.
Let me correct that now.
What can we see now, please?
It's still the same.
It's still the same. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, please, you can try now, please.
You can see the model, this thing.
You can try to reshare now. You should go work.
Okay. Okay, resume sharing. Okay.
Okay, now we are at the table. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
What can we see now?
Yeah.
Table.
All right.
Yeah, we can see table now.
Okay,
That's
okay.
the-
Thank you for the observation. So now, this is our sales table, as I've said earlier. But when you look at product table has more information than the sales table. And so we will need to bring in some information into the sales table so that we can do this is where we use our DAX function. So now I'm on sales table, but I have quantity in sales table, but I need to do some calculation. So how do I achieve this? I need to bring in price from product table. So now to achieve this, I will have to go back to my sales table, click on new column. Don't forget that we look at the difference between new column, calculated column and measures the other time. So this is where we will be able to marry what we have learned theoretically with the practical session. So now I'm creating a column. So I'll click on my new column. When I click on my new column, it's telling me that, okay, you can see the tax bar. It has shown me the new column. So what am I bringing? I want to bring in price from product table. So now to bring in price from the product table, now this, there is a function in Power BI called related. Now, if I click on this related, now Power BI is self-explanatory if you follow the process very well. When I click the related, people that are looking at Power BI, there is a line and instruction under that related. It says, related function returns a related value from another table. Don't forget that I said earlier, we are bringing price from product table into sales table to enable us do our calculation. And so this function called related now will assist us in achieving this objective. Now, the price we are bringing is what we call current price. This price. So you now close your brackets. It's either you click on commit or you hit enter, anyone that suits you. When you hit your enter button, what it does for you is that it populates your table with the prices from other table. That is one. We have created one calculator. Now, we can still create one. Now that we have quantity and we have price, and so we can still take it further. We can still create another column. So we can hit our column. When we hit it, we now said, okay, let's even look for our revenue. And how do we get our revenue? We can say, okay, prices. prices times quantity. Just go ahead and hit your commits, or you can hit your enter button. Anyone that suits you. You have used your calculator for prices and revenue. Now, I need to show something on our report view model. For instance, okay, let me close this and let me try and bring in let me bring the customer in here. Let me drag our customer. I want us to see what I'm doing very well. So I'll have to let me close this. So I will have to. So it's very tiny, but I want us to see it. So in this situation, so all you need to do is that on top of that, your visual, you see there is a function called focus mode down in the middle. Just click on the focus mode, make it bigger. So now let's bring in that revenue that we just calculated revenue. So I'm dragging that revenue onto our visuals. These are our revenue. Now we use calculated column to achieve this. Now let us now use another method. So this time around, I will not call it calculated column. I will call it total sales. So this time around, I'm going to use new measure. So if you are on your laptop, your new measure. So now you can call it total sales. Total sales. Now, we use it. We will need to use a function called sum x. Now, if you look at that function, very sum x. Oh, sorry, I hit two things at once. So, look at that expression. It said you need to input your table, which is sales table, before putting your expression, because we are looking for total sales. So obviously, total sales is in the system. So put your sales. It's a parameter. When you put your sales, then you now put your let's say, okay, you put your sales. No, you put your sales, then you now put your comma, then you now put what we call your quantity. Now, when you put your quantity now, you can now put your multiplication sign. After putting your multiplication sign, don't forget that we use a function that I call related to bring it in. So you can look for related, and now look for current price, current price that we brought in that time. So with this, I can close my brackets. And if you are following, you too can close yours and hit enter button. Now, you hit enter button, because I was working on customer table, so the measure is that customer's table. So all I need to do is to drag it to the Canva. Can we see that we are getting the answer? But the truth is, this revenue you don't, is just occupying unnecessary space. So for me, I can now go back. Now I have total sales with my DAX, I can now just go back to my tool where I have revenue. Where are my revenue? Let me close my sales. So now I can just, for me, I will just delete this because I do not need it again. Delete this column. I don't need it. So let's go back there. Let's go back to our Kanban. Fix this. So we see that we have our total sales. We can still move on and do another measure. Let's look at our total quantity. So I hit our measure and I calculate our total quantity. Now, how do we calculate our total quantity now? Just click on the function called sum. And click on sum. Now look for your quantity. Sum your quantity. QU. Quantity is here. And so you can just close the bracket and hit enter. Now, we have created another measure. I can drag it to the table also. So this is our total quantity. What if we want to know our transaction for instance? You know, total transaction is different from sales. Total transaction will count the entire transaction that you have. You can have like 10 transactions, and that 10 transaction does not translate to sales. So let's even know our total transaction. So I will hit my new measure again. When I hit my new measure, I will now type total transactions equals to. Now, there is a that is called count rows. Count rows. It's telling you, you know, I said whenever we bring any command on board in Power BI, we should always pay attention to the instruction done. It will help us to understand why we are using that function. And so when you look at this, you know, it says counts the number of rows in a table. So we are in a table here, and so we want to know the number of rows in that table. And so when you click on total rows, then you just look for your sales and just close that bracket. When you close it, it's your commits. When you hit your commits, it has created. So the total transaction, I can still drag it. So this is our total transaction. And so you can see that for Aaron, it has 17 transactions. For if you look at Aaron Johnson, it has 14. And so this is how to achieve this. Now, any question before I move on? We can go on and on, but I don't want to rush us. I want us to understand the basics. So, having done all this, if you want, you can even decide to filter, maybe based on salesperson. Let me have my table here. I can go on underneath, click on salespeople and drag them. So let me drag this one up for us to see. I don't know why you are not responding. Okay, I know what I will do. So now, this is a table. Now, let me bring in the salespeople. Now, if I bring in salespeople here, now, if I can filter that, okay, all these transactions that were made, who are the people that make each a particular, as if, for instance, now, for the sales guy, Charles Harper, if I click on Charles Harper now, it will filter down what he performed. What that means is that this is all this transaction, quantity, and total sales were made by only Harper. So it can be very, very interactive. You understand what I'm saying? So all you need to do is just to click on whichever name. So it depends on what works for you. Now, we have created certain measures. But you see, the best practice, it's not good for you to create measures and let it scattered everywhere. And so on these notes, we need to group our measure. And group measures means you are organizing your measures, because you need, otherwise it is scattered, and if you need to access them, it may be difficult. And so how can we achieve this? There is a function called enter data here. This enter data. When you click on enter data, it will pop up a dialog box. Now, when it pop up this dialog box, you can come down here. So let me call it measures. So underneath it, don't need to write anything in the table. Just click load. Click. It's loading. It's loading. Okay, it's still loading. Okay, so now this is our measure. This is our measure. Now, how do we group our measure now? Now, you can see that now I'm clicking on, in the measure, there is nothing. So all I need to do is, well, it's like I have already clicked that measure twice. Well, I will see the second one. But let's just go on with this. Let me rename it. Let me call it measure. It's still loading. It takes some seconds. Okay. So now we have our measure. So now, when we click on this measure now, inside the measure, you realize that currently there is nothing there. And so, but we want to bring in our, our measures that we have created. So all we need to do is that click on the measures that you have created. So I'll first of all go to total sales. I will click on total sales. When I click on total sales, I will now come to the right-hand corner. Now, total sales is on the customer table. So I will look for home table, then look for my measure. I will click my measure here. What that means is that total sales has gone to the measure table. It's loading. That's gone. If you look at customer table very well, you will see that you cannot find total sales again. It has moved to measure table. So click on total transaction, then do the same thing at the left-hand corner where you have home table. There is a drop down arrow in front of the, what's it called now? In front of the customer table. Click on it and hit your measure. Now, when you hit your measure, obviously you can see that total transaction has moved to measure table by my right hand side here. You do the same thing for total quantity. When you go to your total quantity, hit your measure, home table. When you hit your measure, the same thing will happen. It's loading. It's loading. So, obviously now you can see now that we now have our three measures under the measure table. Now, this column 1, we don't need it, it's useless. So you can just click on it, right click, and look for delete from the model. I don't need you here. So thank you. Go to dustbin. So that is gone. So all I need to do now is come here, close up my measure, close up my table, close everything, just hit here and return it. And so the measure has come to the topmost parts. Can we see that? So now we have grouped our measure. We have grouped our measure. And so we can go on and on now. Now, I want to show us something. Let us assume that, let's go back to our date table. Let's go back here. Now, this is our date table. Now, this is our date table. Now, if you look at the date table very well, when you look at the month's name, for instance, you know, if they were written completely. Can you see? Okay, let me browse it here. Now, this is too long, but we can, you know, a lot of dates you see, you see or you saw online, you see that they use only the first 3 alphabets. So we can achieve that too. And let's try and make it happen. So it's your new column here. When you hit your new column, it has created a column for us by this right-hand side. And so what do we want to achieve? I'm looking at short months. Now, how do I find my short months now? There is a function called left. Don't forget that we want to pick the first 3 alphabet from the left-hand side. And so we click on left. Now, you see the message. Returns the specific number of characters from the start of a text string. The first 3. So obviously, as we have July now, to just return JUL. So how do we achieve this for the short months? We look at our dates. Where is our date? These are our dates. And after we have gotten our dates, we'll now look for what we call month's name. Month's name. Month's name. Month's name. Think this. So when we now input our month's name, we'll put comma. We'll now put 3. Don't forget, we want just 3 alphabets. So we'll put 3. And after putting that 3, you now close that parenthesis. After closing it, you are free to hit your enter or commit. Let's see what is going to happen here. Can we see that? Can we see that? So you can see that it's already returning just 3 of that. Now, we can also get our average quantity. Get total sales, get total quantity. We can get our average quantity. How can we achieve this? Can use our measure again. I don't want to rush us. I'm just trying to create a foundation because that is a journey. I'm going to send us a link at the end of this class that we need to explore after the class, so that at the end of the day, we are not just listening to video. So that when you read it, that is very wide. That's the truth. You can't know it in a day. Even if you spend 2, 3, 4 hours there, you can't know it. So I'm just taking it one step because I knew that there are some people here that are newbies. So I know that there are some people that are professional. Yeah, I understand. But for the purpose of the newbie, I don't want anybody to be lost. So I want everybody's time that we spend here to watch it. So now, let's assume we are looking for our average quantity. So there's a formula called average. Is average. Then look for your quantity. Where are you hiding? This quantity. Then you close it. And so now I made a mistake here. And I need to call our attention to it. Now, we have our measure table. Ordinarily, the average quantity measure that I created now should go to measure table. But here we are, our average quantity is under customer table. Can anybody tell me why that happens? Let's unmute. I want us to talk. Who can try? Hello, class. Hello, class.
Hello, we are with you.
Yeah,
So I
could
need
you
to
repeat the question?
Okay, so can somebody try? I want us to try. This is average quantity. It's supposed to be here, not here. Who can tell me why it is here? And it's not with its other colleagues. Who can try? Does anyone want to give it a shot?
Yeah, let me try.
Okay, go on.
You created a new measure on the customer query, that's why.
Can you say that? Okay, I'm not hearing you. You are talking, but we cannot hear.
Can you hear me?
Eddie, go on.
Yeah, the customer query was created on the customer query. The measure was created on the customer query.
Thank you. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So the reason why it's showing under customers table is because When I want to create the measure, I was under customers table. So I want to please call our attention to this. Whenever we need to create any measure, let us ensure that we are always on measure table. By so doing, in fact, even if you are not on measure table, if you just hit any of the metrics inside the measure table, when you hit any of the metrics inside the measure table, obviously when you create your measure, it will go in there. Are we cool? Are we cool? I want to hear us talk, please, so that I don't do all the talking. No.
Yes, we are here. Let's
Hello,
unmute
class.
and talk, please.
Are we tired?
No, not
Should we
really.
shut down the class?
No, we are
We shut
enjoying it.
down
Thank
the class.
you.
So I need us to talk. So now let me move forward. We've done some things. Now we can still make some things happen here. Can still make some things happen. Let me go back to, okay. So this is total sales. Now this total sales, now this data is from United States of America, based on the data that we have. You know, you see some states like, okay, let me not assume that we know. Let me take us to the location table for us to see what I am seeing. So this is location table. So we can see places like Florida, can see places like Georgia, North Carolina, New Jersey, New York, which means this data is from US. Now, let me now go back to our Canva. Now, we can do some things on this because this is a numerical value. So when we click on our sales, we can format it. Who can help us to achieve this? Okay, I know what I'll do. So let me just, this is what I'm trying to say. Let me just let me exit this. I can just remove this. Now let me see. Okay, give me another table. Under that, another table. Then give me location table. Now in that location table, give me country. Give me country. And when you give me country, give me sales per. Let me say sales per country. Now I will have to make this one big. Now, haven't given me this now. I should be able to format this. I need to format this. So let me hit formats. It's not showing what. I don't know why it's not showing formats. But what I'm saying is, we are supposed to be able to put our $ beside the sales. Don't know why it's not showing format here. Hold on. Okay, let's go
Maybe
on.
you can try that
I'll
in the.
come back to that.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me quickly do one more measure before we come back to that. So now I want to do a little complex visual. I mean, a little complex measure. Now, let's say we want to find, now this is the total sale. The total sale we have say 3,522,000, but let's us say that, okay, only one state, like say Florida, for instance. Now, this is for calculates. What does calculate does for you? I need us to see what calculate does. Calculate evaluates an expression in a context and modified by filter. That is what calculate does for you. And this is how we're going to achieve it. Now, we want to look for total sales in Florida. So obviously, our first expression will be total sales. Total sales. We have that already. That is our first expression. Followed by a comma. We now bring in a function called filter, because we want to filter it to Florida. So when you hit your filter button, don't forget that we're looking at, now we have our table, first table, filter table, which is our location. Florida is under location. So now, when you bring in your location, the next thing you'll be looking for is, you now hit your comma. When you hit your comma, you now look for what? Look for that expression, which is states. Location. Under your location, you look for where you have states. Now, when you get that state, when you include that state, the next thing you do is that we now say, look for equals to sign. When you look for equals to sign, you will now put your Florida in a 2 inverted comma. Let me say FL. You had another one. After that, you now close your bracket. I think it should be 1, 2, is 1, 2. I think it should be 3 arguments. Okay, it's 2 arguments. Few arguments were passed to calculate function. The function argument count function is. Okay, let's see what we have. Okay, so let me quickly, I think Florida is there. Let me bring in my Florida here. So let me compress this. I have this. Let me even delete these. Remove. So I need us to see that Florida very well. So let me quickly go to focus. So what this means is that, yeah, this is total sales. But for Florida, we have been able to filter out what Florida made in the total sales in the entire transaction. So those are what, you know, what we have here is the total transaction. But for this man who is, let's say, Douglas Wellers, his own sales in Florida is just 561. But in the entire sales, he has 21,315. This is the third line that I am here. In the entire sales, he made 21,000. I mean, let me say 21,000 US dollars, 315. But here, he has just $561 in Florida. And so we can replicate it for all the states the same way. The same. I can tell us for free. Yeah, DAX is not that simple. But if you can follow the process one after the other, you will get it. All you need is practicing and following it one after the other. Because one thing about Power BI is Power BI update comes up every month. Every month there is an update. And that is why I will advise us, you can go on YouTube, look for Power BI updates, try and subscribe so that if there is any changes, there's any additional function, it's not a video that will take your time, 25-30 minutes, just listen to it and familiarize and see how you can replicate it. It will help you a lot. So thank you, everyone. This is how far we can go tonight. And so I hand over to Ife. Ife, you have the floor, ma.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Rashid, for that amazing class. Thank you so much. So not to waste any our time further. So we'll be taking questions now. So if you have a question, now is the time to ask if you have any question. So you can either raise your hand if you're able to speak or send your question in the chat room. So we'll be taking questions now. Thank you so much, Mr. Rashid. That was a very insightful session. And before we start getting our questions, so I'll be sending a link to the chat room now. So we would love to know how the session was for you. What did you enjoy about the teaching? What do you think would have been better? All of that. So we'd like you to fill this form to give us an honest feedback and review about the session. So I'll be sharing the link in the chat room now. So while I'm doing that, we'll be taking questions. So if you have any question, now is the time. While the class was going on, a lot of us were asking questions in the chat room. So now is the time to unmute and actually ask your questions as regards the topic. Okay, Gafar, please unmute.
Hi everyone, and thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi everyone.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you for a lovely session. It was very informative. It's not a question, but it's kind of advice. Like, we are all newbies, and we have to some extent an experience in Power BI and DAX, but can you advise us on what we shouldn't do, what we should do, what should we focus on more to work better in analysis and data?
Okay, so Gafar, is that a question for Mr. Rashid?
It's not a question, but it's kind of advice from him. Like, and
Okay. I don't know, did you all get I would really love, Gafar, if you could please, come back again, because even I could not really understand. I don't know if it's the network from my end.
okay. I asked him if, from his experience, if he can give us an advice on what we should avoid and what we should focus more on to have to gain more like experience and to avoid the mistakes that has been done by others.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Rashid, did you get that? Hello, Mr. Rashid.
His network has froze.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I can see other questions coming in. So, while Mr. Rashid tries to join